Have you ever felt like you needed a confession day? That's what one of the things I seen in the reading today that was kind of a aha thing for me. This is Leslie with Dream Big Today, and I'm here for the Noon Nugget. And we do Noon Nuggets Monday through Friday, and it's just a little snippet of the Bible studying and what spoke loud to us, the people that speak at noon. And also you can put your prayer requests on the comments, and also praise reports or any insight that you also had, which I've seen that this morning people were putting insights, and Elizabeth covered a lot of this morning, so I think, and then we had a lot of conversation this morning over text about forgiveness and how that we see the story of forgiveness and love. Elizabeth described it as the love letter, and it's one of the greatest love stories. And I completely agree it is, and how forgiveness needs to reign in us. There was a statement made this last weekend, and it resonated with me. It says, with Christians, forgiveness needs to be oxygen. And we think, well, we don't have unforgiveness very often, or maybe you do, maybe you don't. Me beginning to start asking God every day to show me whether I have fears or unforgiveness is kind of like layers of unforgiveness that I didn't realize that was there, that's been way back. But I want to highlight some of the things here in the scriptures of what some of the things that happen that kind of release the forgiveness. We call it truth telling, or our little group calls it truth telling or confession. A lot of people think confession is saying I'm sorry, but when it really is being open and honest and just speaking to God and like, because He is right here, He's inside of us. But Judah begins to express to him his fears. He said, man, he didn't say it like this, but I'm going to interpret. He says, man, this is my fear. You don't understand. If I do what you're asking, my father will not live. He's already still grieving, and this will bring him into the depths. So Judah just begins to confess, I can't do this. And this is the reason why. And I think sometimes that's what happens when we're confessing to God. We need to be open and honest. Hey, this is what's going on. I don't think I can do it. And that's when we empty out and said, I can't do it. And that allows Him then to be released to do it, because then we're not trying to do it ourselves and within our own means. But then after Judah makes that confession, then I believe it, and I think it was Cassie made the comment about that. But once he's seen Judah's grief, and then he was able to open up. But it wasn't until Joseph truly opened up did it cause him to release, because I think he did have a little bit of unforgiveness toward his brothers, his stepbrothers, and he did not know about Benjamin until he drilled his brothers, because Benjamin happened, and he wasn't a stepbrother, he was his brother, the only brother he had from his mother. And then Joseph asked him again, because, he really opened up and began to say, I'm going to tell the truth. And so then he expected truth. Is my father alive? They had already told him that his father's alive. So this is confession time, man. They're out there and saying, is my father still alive? He said, come closer. You'll truly see that it is Joseph. And that's when we really know that we are truth telling. We're being open and allowing God to do healing. It says, come a little closer. And so they came closer, and then, and of course, it shows where his broke down, and I've had those deep, and they're healing, and I believe that this is what happened when he began to weep so loud and broke down. That was some healing. He truly released his brothers. So once he truly released his brothers, then I think he came full circle, which I know that he knew that God was in everything that he did. But he says, I am Joseph, your brother whom you sold into slavery in Egypt. He said, but But don't be upset. I mean, that full release, he says, don't be angry with yourself in selling me to this place. It was God who sent me here ahead of you to preserve your lives. I mean, Joseph was, I believe, coming into a full, complete circle of understanding. God has sent me ahead of you and your families alive to preserve my survivors. So it was God who sent me. So Joseph began into correct positioning and began to truly tell the truth and completely release his brothers. And that's when then Joseph looked at Benjamin and they embraced him. And Benjamin did the same. They embraced. They were full brothers, and that Joseph kissed him and each of his brothers, and wept over them. I mean, I believe that as that weeping happened, that there was such healing, and then they were able to talk freely because they knew true forgiveness had happened. True. And you really begin to think about that when we begin to release our forgiveness, how that we're free. I mean, that's true freedom. That's true freedom. Have you ever been in a room and you feel like you thought that you've forgiven someone, but there's still that thick and awkwardness, and they're not free? They're not free to really communicate. And we can sense this, and we can know this between parents and children, and husbands and wives, and friends and co-workers. But if we would truly get that revelation of being able to truly trust God in our relationships, that the God relationship, that we can freely communicate. And first, we come free to communicate with our God and say, I am struggling with this. This is, I need help in this. It's that confession, that truth telling. So this is the truth. This is what I'm struggling with. And then God's able to speak into it freely because we've released it. And I believe that this is a great example of that very thing. Truth telling, talking about their fears, talking about the truth, where God was in the middle of it. And then there'd be a complete release amongst all of them. It wasn't one side, it was a complete restoration. There's transformation. I don't believe that transformation would have ever happened until there was complete communication. There was till complete truth-telling. I want to call it that, truth-telling. That's what our little group's calling it. Let's do some truth-telling. Then transformation happened into the relationship, that they trusted Joseph, because anymore the positioning had changed on who Joseph was, and that Joseph had truly forgiven them, and that if God had done this, then God had forgiven them also, that they didn't carry that guilt anymore. And I love this. Don't worry about your personal belongings, for the best of all of the land of Egypt is yours. And it makes me think of Jesus' statement, don't worry about your clothing or your food. First, seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all that other stuff is going to be added to you. And Joseph was saying, just trust God in this. This is God's plan. He's did this. He's wrapped it up. He's got it all. He's got it all in control. We've got 5 more years in severe famine. But see, if we believe, God's got it all taken care of. And so it was important for all of this to happen, all the release, the truth-telling, the forgiveness, to let things go, and so they could truly not to worry. And then it says the sons of Jacob did as they were told. Joseph provided them with the wagons, just as Pharaoh, because they had favor not just even with Joseph, but with Pharaoh, because Joseph had prepared the way. Well, actually, God had prepared the way through Joseph. It's just an exciting story. And it is a story for us to reflect on and say, hey, it's an aha thing that we've got to understand the power in forgiveness, the power of forgiveness, the power of truth-telling, that we can give it to God, explain it to him, then we release it so that he can flow through us and allow that healing to happen. Not only do we release ourselves, but we release that other person. So I just speak healing to everybody. And I pray for forgiveness and transformation in every one of our lives.